Well, we've spoken about diplomatic, political and economic cooperation between Zambia and China as the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang visits the country. But over the years, Zambia and China's friendship on the cultural front has also been growing. Chinese martial arts have become hugely popular in the southern African country. Here's Susan Mwongeli.
Over the years, Chinese troops have become more involved in celebrations in the country. Performances include martial arts with a local twist.
The
biggest task of this celebration was mixing the elements of Zambian national culture. Therefore, we thought a lot about arrangement of programs, clothing and music selection, as well as combination of local dance.
And Chinese soldiers also display their martial arts skills.
Whenever there are martial arts demonstrations, the audience cheer. As Chinese soldiers, we are proud of presenting Chinese martial arts in a foreign country.
Martial art is quite popular in Zambia, so audiences are captivated by the display.
The locals are very interested in martial arts. When we set an example for them, they are very interested. They think martial arts is amazing. They always come to us during their spare time or after classes, and even weekends to learn more moves.
Here's to many more memorable performances to celebrate the deepening of cultural ties between Zambia and China. Susan Mwongeli, CGTN.
Let's get you some analysis now, and I'm joined by Professor Macharia Munene. He's an expert in China-Africa relations at the United States International University here in Nairobi. Professor, thank you. China has maintained its tradition of diplomatic engagement with Africa, and for Foreign Minister Wang, though, it is always his first visit of the year that goes to Africa. What does this say about Chinese priorities on the African continent?
It's a very positive projection. It shows that China considers Africa to be very high in terms of diplomatic engagement, that China values Africa as a continent and the various African countries. That would explain why the first engagement in a year is with Africa instead of other regions. We know that other powers tend to put Africa last. After they have gone everywhere else, then they come to Africa. But China decides to start with Africa for the year engagement and then see how it engages the others after that fact. So the priorities with Africa is to synchronize the interest and how they can be tackled in the months that come. So it is a very important indication of where China places Africa.
Well, Foreign Minister Wang will be visiting 5 African countries. What will be the added significance of the Foreign Minister's visit this time around?
Well, you can see the countries that he has chosen to visit. Zambia has very good reason for that, because China did actually revive a dying copper industry when the others had given up hope on it. Tanzania is a great country for the relationship. Tanzania and Zambia, back in the 1960s, the Chinese helped to build a railroad that became the signature project, try to open up the country, not just open up the country, but give an outlet to the landlocked country that was being strangled by apartheid. So it was a way of helping the liberation front. Madagascar, a huge island that has a lot of resources and a lot of open space that needs to be exploited, and people help to come out of the awkwardness that sometimes they find themselves. So you can see in Nigeria, again, there's a lot of Chinese investments in Nigeria, because Nigeria is a huge country. It's the biggest country in Africa in terms of population.
So moving forward, though, and looking into 2017, of course, there's a little bit of, global changes, of course, with a slight view of anti-globalization happening around the world now. In terms of Africa, though, what can Africa expect in its partnerships with China moving forward, and particularly in 2017?
We expect more engagement, close engagement, especially with the developments in the West that seems to be anti-international. The Brexit is essentially anti-European. or anti-globalization, by the feeling of some powers in the West that maybe they overreach themselves. And we see what happened with the United States. The incoming administration that seems to be more isolationistic than the previous one. So with the Obama administration, you had an element of messianism. With the Trump, it doesn't look as if he's going to engage in those things. So where does Africa fit into all those things? When there are those adjustments in their own interest, it's also in the interest of the African countries to adjust accordingly and to reach out to those who are willing to reach out to them. So because the Chinese are reaching out, the Africans are also going to be reaching out, and the mutual interaction is going to be intensified between the African countries and the Chinese powerhouse.
Right, Professor Macharia Munene, thank you very much for your insights.